Hey guys, this is Tanner Murphy with Stand Tall Barbering Company, and today we are going to be doing a brushback. We're going to start this cut by wetting this mop thoroughly. This haircut consists of 95% scissor work. If the hair isn't consistently wet throughout the entire haircut, then we can't expect an even cut. This is my good friend and client Logan. He's got great hair and has always let me do cool stuff to it. But in a perfect world, I would have wanted the model for this cut to have a little more length in the back, but this is what we're working with today. After we have wet everything down, I'm going to be making a horseshoe parting around the entire head to separate the sides and back from the top. This step is important to take your time with. If you mess this part up by putting it too high, the haircut is already done. Our first cutting part, we'll start with a diagonal back section from the bottom corner of his bar to where his ear meets his head. We're going to over direct everything forward and cut a guesstimated C cup with our shears. Now we're going to over direct everything backwards and cut everything hanging over the edge in front of the ear, ensuring we will have a clean working space when we go back in later and taper. Once that's done, we can continue taking diagonal back sections all the way back until the back of the head. We are going to be using the length from our first section as our guide. I think it's worth mentioning we are intentionally using diagonal back sections to emphasize movement backwards because this haircut will be styled backwards. I also wanted to take this moment to apologize on behalf of my shoulder for being the star of this video. This is my first tutorial with this tripod and I'm still learning the best angles. When we get to the bottom of the neck, if you look closely, I am pulling my wrist upwards oh so slightly to over direct upwards to maintain extra length at the nape. This maintained length in the nape is by far the strongest characteristic of this style. It is the trickiest but most important detail of this cut. As we get closer and closer to the back of the head, we will be taking more and more vertical sections, meaning decreasing the degree of diagonal angle until we are completely vertical as we get to the center of the back of the head. Some people will argue this is easier to just use horizontal sections, but for my brain, this method works better for me. I think it's worth mentioning that I prefer using palm to palm because your fingers don't bend backwards. I use this as a safety net when I'm trying to build a square shape. That way I don't accidentally round the shape. Okay, time for another tricky part. Once you reach the center of the back of the head, you'll want to start increasing the diagonal angle as you move back around the other side of the head. Alright, moving on to the top. Believe it or not, this is the easiest part. This step is best we don't overthink it. There's just a few key guidelines I use when doing this cut. We are going to start by re-wetting and combing everything backwards. Once everything is combed backwards, we can do a middle part. I think middle part shouldn't mean the center of the client's head. It should be where the hair wants to part. Don't stress about it being directly centered, just make sure it's tailored to the client's head and how they want it. I personally like when the crown blends in with the back, so we will start by sectioning it off in a wide triangle shape and take diagonal back sections similar to how we did the side. Now moving to the fringe. In a perfect world, I would have loved there to be more length so there was more to work with. However, for any length of this style, I use the angle of their cheekbone as a reference for the angle of the fringe. I comb everything down and grab the hair horizontally and lift slightly to ensure I don't accidentally cut a line in the sides of the head. Then as we move back, we continue that same horizontal section all the way back and increasing the angle slightly to connect with the back. Now we just repeat on the other side, making sure not to connect the fringe so it doesn't round it out. The downside I have found with horizontal sections is and always will be gravity. You can leave it just like this, but when their hair inevitably falls throughout the day, it will look like a ring around their head. To minimize this, I like to go back through and texturize with a feather razor. I like to cut small slits in the horizontal sections with the first few teeth of my razor to visually break up that horizontal line. Instead of creating a hard line with my trimmers on the neck, I instead will feather razor the bottom to create a piecey grown out look. I will then go back in and clean up the longer hair by point cutting with my shears by side. Before I start to taper, I like to shear over comb to debulk to uncover a clean working space. I'm not going to dive too much into me tapering because I think that deserves a whole nother video because I'm aware my taper technique is a bit odd. Now to style. I rough dry some of our quicksand clay into the hair until everything is about 80% dry. I then directionally blow dry backwards with the concentrator to get that brush back look. I then diffuse the top to get a piecier, more natural laying finish. Some people diffuse the whole thing, but I find it more efficient this way. I like to finish off with a little bit of hairspray, but I like to spray the hairspray into the airstream of the blow dryer instead of directly onto the hair. This way the air freezes the hairspray before it even touches the head to create more lift and opens doors for more creative solutions. This is the final result. If this helped you, please drop me a like and subscribe for more tutorials like this. If you'd like to see mini tutorials, then follow me on Instagram. Thank you guys.